Borders frame state and borders bound sovereignty. Their recognition apply acceptance of power within boundaries. However, in the northeast of Algeria, next to Tunisia, the situation is more nuanced, and the northeastern borderlands are almost a country into themselves, as shows it my paper. State neglect and shortage of jobs have kept most localities in Algeria, northeastern borderlands, poor and underdeveloped. As a result, smuggling has taken root, and for some families, it is a career bequeathed from one generation to the next. Smuggling goods across the border between Algeria and Tunisia has created a parallel economy for marginalized border populations. Law enforcement and smugglers alike must navigate these gray zones of legal, illegal, licit, illicit in state authority. The Algerian government is aware that a strictly security-focused solution to the dilemma it faces would upset the socio-economic equilibrium of the borderlands. There is a rationality of alternatives behind granting smugglers leeway to go about their illicit business. In other words, the state is cognizant that semi-independent actors have established an economic system that is more streamlined and efficient than its own, and that these actors enjoy considerable social clout. The larger realization on the part of the government is that despite a decades-long push towards centralization, the state remains fragmented. As a result, in recent years, the concern in Algiers seems to have shifted to ensuring that much as smugglers and border officials complement each other, the disparate fragments making up the state remain at least loosely synchronized. First, it should be said that for the Algerian borderland community, smuggling contraband into and from Tunisia is a job prospect at once justifiable and lucrative. Smugglers themselves view the border not as the end of their country and the beginning of another, but as an artificially erected barrier that it is necessary to circumvent. In Algeria, state formation remains an evolving process, as evidenced by the situation in the country's northeastern border regions, with Algerians officials in these areas permitting smuggling of petrol and certain other commodities over the border with Tunisia, and smugglers weeding out security threat even as they go about their illicit trade. The two parties complement each other. This unusual relationship furthers the intrusion of the state into citizens' livelihoods, even as it manipulates state authority. From the perspective of local authorities, smuggling functions as a safety valve that relieves some of the economic pressure felt by the inhabitants of Algeria's neglected eastern provinces. Moreover, smugglers enhance the security service efforts to keep the dreaded triple threat of drugs, weapons, and jihadists at bay. As part of their tacit agreement with authorities, smugglers steer clear of illicit drugs and weapons. Yet, even more important is the fact that they report back to the authorities on those attempting to traffic such goods. This information is indispensable to the Algerian security services, whose chief focus is on keeping the border clear of jihadist elements. The interplay between law enforcement and smugglers calls into question much of the conventional wisdom regarding centralized authority in a modern unitary state. In Algeria, smuggling has emerged as an integral part of the ongoing process of state formation. Well, authorities are allowing and even encouraging such informal institutionalization as a means of ameliorating entirely local socio-economic demands. A crucial aspect of this region's centrifugal tendencies becomes clear. Essentially, the borderlands take precedence over the state in all matters save for security. In fact, it would not be a stretch to say that the borderlands of Algeria are almost a country country into themselves. Nevertheless, the arrangement between smugglers and local authorities has proven durable, is no guarantee that it will remain tenable should the security situation on Algeria's border with Tunisia and Libya deteriorate. In the years since the toppling of former President Zine al-Abidine Ben Ali authoritarian regime in Tunisia in 2011, Salafi jihadi groups have carved out a niche for themselves in far-flung parts of the country, such as regions bordering Algeria. The increasingly close relationship between these groups and drug traffickers, together with the possibility that both have their sights set on Algeria, represent a nightmarish scenario for the Algerian authorities. Yet, were the government to enact stringent security measures that curtail smuggling networks' activity, it will thereby shut off the safety valve that is critical to relieving the economic pressure bearing down on countless families in the borderlands. This would in turn rupture the amicable relationship between local authorities and local communities. In fact, if unaccompanied by a successful effort to rejuvenate the borderlands, a crackdown on smuggling would deteriorate the situation and would put in jeopardy the security of the situation. And more likely, this would lead to social upheaval. Such move would also force smugglers to go underground and dampen their motivation to serve as the eyes and ears of border officials tasked with apprehending jihadi and drug mules. Even more alarmingly, a clampdown could drive smugglers and jihadi into each other's arms. The state would thus have midwifed a security threat even more dangerous than the one it sought to stamp out.